All right, anybody need any Kleenex at all? Because Denise Gannon, you have the stage.
Thanks. Well, you won't need tissues because if you knew Sean, he was full of humor. So I am going to keep humor in this talk. 30 years ago, Robert Fulghum wrote a poignant little book entitled, All I Really Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. He anticipated a short life for his first book, which has now sold 6 million copies in English alone, published in 37 languages, and sold in 103 countries. It's pretty telling. I've always considered the book essential reading for anyone because the basics of life are hopefully taught and learned early on and remind us of the truth. We're all in this world together and fall back on the values and that continue to guide us when we find ourselves sputtering and staggering with too much on our plates. We all need one another. Fulghum writes, share everything. To be clear, I don't think he meant spouses or significant others. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt someone. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush. Well, warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. I would suggest that Chief Frederickson may argue that Dairy Queen and profiteroles are better. Matter of opinion. Live a balanced life. Learn some, think some, play some, sing some, work some, every day. Take a nap every afternoon. Officers, I suggest that even if you do a double, you might find yourself a bit of a hassle if you decide to take a nap in your cruiser. That's just... When you go out into the world, watch out for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Wonder. Remember the little seed in the styrofoam cup? The roots go down, the plant comes up, but nobody really knows why or how, but we are all like that. Wonder. Goldfish, hamsters, and white mice, and even the little seed in the cup. They all die. So do we. Some before their times, and some too soon. And then remember the primer that you learned, and the biggest word of all, look. Everything you need to know is in there somewhere. The golden rule and love and basic sanitation, ecology, politics, sane living. A plethora of communications poured in after Sean was murdered. We didn't lose him. He died. Some contained stories about Sean. One came from a woman whom I didn't know, who wrote to tell me that she and her 2 little boys, who were 8 and 9 years old, had met Officer Gannon several times, and they cherished their memories of their encounters as greatly as they were shattered by his death. The first encounter was on the side of a road in Yarmouth where Sean's blue cruiser lights pulled her over, the dreaded blue cruiser. The woman checked her seatbelt, which was secured. She checked her sons. They were in their seatbelts. She knew she hadn't been speeding because the boys were in the back, and the Cape Cod roads can sometimes be very windy and twisty. As far as she knew, she hadn't done anything wrong. But she still got very nervous when she rolled her window down. But she said Sean was, quote, so polite and so friendly that his demeanor calmed her. Sean had pulled her over to tell her that one of her back taillights was out, and you might want to get that fixed. It's serious. After he checked her license and registration, he returned to the car and he noticed the two little boys sitting in the back seat. One of them asked Sean, "Is that a taser?" And Sean looked and said, "Is that a juice box?" He asked the boys what they wanted to be when they grew up. They said, "Police officers." Somebody quick, go grab those kids. The woman then told me that Sean gave the boys a few words of wisdom that she very much appreciated, and here I quote Sean. "Get good grades in school, be kind to people, stay away from drugs, always obey your mother." And then he repeated the last sentence, "Always obey your mother." The woman wrote that following their encounter with Sean, she and her sons became very intrigued with public canine demonstrations, and they made sure that they attended them to learn from their friend, Officer Gannon, what canines and their handlers do when they work together. A relationship had been created from a traffic stop with a cup of kindness. What Sean learned, as we hopefully all did, in these very basic and indispensable elements that Fulgham breaks down for us, is in grown-up terms, the way we live in solidarity. We cross the borders of our own personal agendas and enter the situation of another that helps, heals, and develops relationships as we all go out into the world, watch out for traffic, and stick together. We are all different, but now part of you lives in me, and I live in part of you. We belong to one another. On this occasion of Nero's bill, publicly signed as Nero's law, we celebrate our solidarity. Law enforcement, politicians, veterinarians, family, members of the community, friends, everyone who embraced Nero's bill to see it signed into law. We all looked, we entered the world of canine, we held hands and stuck together and created needed change. I call that a success story.
Amen.
On behalf of our entire family, some who are present today and some who could not be here, and send their best wishes to you. Profound thanks to everyone for your presence here today on this 4th anniversary of Sean's death, and to everyone who stood behind this new law with such gravitas. Your friendship and your service mean the world. Sean is wearing his big smile on this very proud day. Thank you.